Good morning, class. It is Monday, October 30th, and it is our week 6 of our Introduction to Creative Nonfiction class. And we're going to be talking more, again, returning to the concept of the image, how powerful it is, and also the image as creative source, which LaPlante talks about in the chapter we'll read this week. Remembering that we often think in images, and these can be really good for feeding our writing practice over the long term and continuing to make our writing vivid and strong and keep us connected to it. So today I wanted to introduce you to this wonderful anthology. You know, there's lots of creative nonfiction in the world, all different kinds, all different lengths and styles and voices, and it's very flexible, as I've talked about, very inclusive. So you need to figure out as a writer what kind of creative nonfiction you're most attracted to, what you're interested in writing and sustaining for yourself over the long term. This is an anthology that I really love. This is The Next American Essay, edited by John DeGata, who I believe teaches at Iowa. And with every chapter of this anthology, there is a little bio, a bio of the author, but also a paragraph or two by John DeGata about the year the essay was published, I believe. So it's kind of cool. It goes from the next American Essay, 1975. It starts with John McPhee. This is not a special year, 1975. We are not fighting in this year a war in Vietnam. We are not worried in this year about the price of gas. We are not celebrating in this year the American bicentennial. Instead, in this year, we are doing the hustle. Do the hustle. So I'm going to read a little bit from the 1982 essay by Annie Dillard. This is an essay called Total Eclipse, and there is an image that's very strong at the beginning of the essay. So this is Total Eclipse, just a little bit of the beginning of Total Eclipse by Annie Dillard. It had been like dying, that sliding down the mountain pass. It had been like the death of someone, irrational, that sliding down the mountain pass and into the region of dread. It was like slipping into fever or falling down that hole in sleep from which you wake yourself whimpering. We had crossed the mountains that day, and now we were in a strange place, a hotel in central Washington. Thought of Nick. A hotel in central Washington in a town near Yakima. The eclipse we had traveled here to see would occur early the next morning. Now notice her use of repetition in that first paragraph, also in this one. I lay in bed. My husband Gary was reading beside me. I lay in bed and looked at the painting on the hotel room wall. It was a print of a detailed and lifelike painting of a smiling clown's head made out of vegetables. It was a painting of the sort which you do not intend to look at, and which, alas, you never forget. Some tasteless fate presses it upon you. It becomes part of the complex interior junk you carry with you wherever you go. 2 years have passed since the total eclipse of which I write. During those years, I have forgotten, I assume, a great many things I wanted to remember, but I have not forgotten that clown painting or its lunatic setting in the old hotel. The clown was bald. This is great for Halloween, right? And the movie that's out now, It. The clown was bald. Actually, he wore a clown's tight rubber wig, painted white. This stretched over the top of his skull, which was a cabbage. His hair was bunches of baby carrots. Inset in his white clown makeup and in his cabbage skull were his small and laughing human eyes. The clown's glance was like the glance of Rembrandt in some of the self-portraits, lively, knowing, deep, and loving. The crinkled shadows around his eyes were string beans. His eyebrows were parsley. Each of his ears was a broad bean. His thin, joyful lips were red chili peppers. Between his lips were wet rows of human teeth and a suggestion of a real tongue. The clown print was framed in gilt and glassed. To put ourselves in the path of the total eclipse, that day we had driven 5 hours inland from the Washington coast where we lived. When we tried to cross the Cascades Range, an avalanche had blocked the pass. A slope's worth of snow blocked the road. Traffic backed up. Had the avalanche buried any cars that morning? We could not learn. This highway was the only winter road over the mountains. We waited as highway crews bulldozed a passage through the avalanche. With 2x4s and walls of plyboard, they erected a one-way roof tunnel through the avalanche. We drove through the avalanche tunnel, crossed the pass, and descended several thousand feet into central Washington and the broad Yakima Valley, about which we knew only that it was orchard country. As we lost altitude, the snows disappeared, our ears popped, the trees changed, and in the trees were strange birds. I watched the landscape innocently like a fool, like a diver in the rapture of the deep who plays on the bottom while his air runs out. So, strong central image. You notice that she really focuses on it and brings it to the page with description and detail. And clearly now that she's described it for us, we won't forget it either. The Cabbage Clown head in the hotel. The Next American Essay by John DeGata. I highly recommend it for any creative nonfiction writer. All right. I will be in Zoom on Wednesday.